My first experience on campus would have been related to the Church of God camp meeting.
My AU story actually begins back in 1969 when my family came here from Michigan, and it was because my father was answering a call to ministry.
My first really access to Anderson University was as a young camper at camp meeting.
I came to AU in 1985 as a freshman.
I attended here as a student from 1974 to 78.
In Campus Life magazine, I ran across an article about Anderson University.
Every summer we come for camp meeting, come for homecoming every now and again, and I remember just growing up thinking this is a neat place. This is where the older, cooler kids are.
I found out about AU from a Bible study leader of mine in high school. I was looking for a school to do music, and she kind of came and said, hey, if I could do it over again, I'd go to Anderson University.
My grandfather was a Church of God pastor, and so he ended up sending his 4 children here to Anderson University, one of whom was my father. And so there's a legacy for me in that not only did my dad come here, but also 2 aunts and 1 uncle.
The start of my own personal connection here is that my parents, who were students here in the 1950s, met here, got married in June, and were getting ready to start another school year in September and realized that they were pregnant with me.
When I was thinking about going back into full-time ministry, someone suggested to apply at AU because it had a mission that was Christian-focused.
Came to AU in 2002 with the goal and aspirations of playing on the men's basketball team.
I am a legacy student. My father came here in the 1950s and earned his bachelor's and his MDiv at the School of Theology.
Came to AU as a student in the early 80s.
Not really knowing what to think of the place at all, except I had always heard about Anderson, and this was where I should be.
My dad happened to be a professor here. I taught at what was known as a seminary at the time, School of Theology and Christian Ministry. I grew up a block and a half from campus here, youngest of 4. My 3 older siblings and both my parents went here. So I followed in the family tradition, and I graduated in 78.
And believe it or not, what attracted me here was it had a football team. Now, I don't play football. I was a soccer player. But it was important for me to go to a Christian school that had a football team.
But I like to say God had different plans for us because we ended up staying here. My father worked at the university, my mother, and then I came here as a student, studied education, and education has been a real love for me. Spent time in public education as a classroom teacher and principal, and then served on the alumni council and found my way back to Anderson University on the faculty when one of the deans asked me if I would be interested in joining the faculty. So I've been here since January of 2016.
Didn't have any prior experience with the university, so first and foremost, the faith-based element, then a chance to play the sport I loved. And then getting here, they weren't as interested in a 5'7" guy for the basketball team, so that didn't work out. So then it was me being here for then kind of an unknown purpose, but in that God kind of bringing in some friends and some experiences that made me really come to love the place for more than that original intended purpose.
I remember coming from my visit, and after that visit, being here physically on this campus and getting to interact with people, just felt very drawn to this campus and have never had any regrets, never second guessed that decision to come here.
Growing up, I would always hear about Anderson University and Anderson College really for them at the time, and just a lot of things that happened. My dad was one of the founding members of the Tivus, and so heard all sorts of stories about Cheap Thrills, but then just heard about some great professors that they had. And so whenever it was time for me to start looking for college, it was very clear that I would probably come here.
Studied here for 4 years, enjoyed the experience, but knew in that period of time, the interactions I had with coaches, other student athletes, the friends I made on campus, that somehow in some way I wanted to have an experience, or contribute to an experience like this for others.
Fall of 1957, my parents brought me here as, I guess, a 4-month-old. I was here for 3 years. They were kind of on the part-time student, part-time working plan, and so it took both of them the better part of 7 years to get a 4-year degree done in doing that. So I was here my earliest years as a toddler. Ironically, I arrived on campus the same time as President Pistol, our current president. His father came that fall also to be a faculty member.
In fact, when I was on campus, so that would have been 1982 to 1986, there were 5 of us on campus at one point in time, and the Andersonian published an article called "There's Almost Always a Barter Stock on Campus." And I'm proud to say that that has continued today.
And I got on campus and it felt immediate like this is a place I wanted to be.
And I remember thinking I wasn't necessarily going to Anderson University. I was going to Warner Southern because I was a Florida kid. But I ended up being there just a short time at Warner Southern. Then I transferred up here and was a student starting in 1986.
Well, I just checked it out, came on a visit day, not really knowing the Church of God, not really knowing anyone at Anderson, but loved it. As soon as I came on campus, I was like saying hi to everyone that I passed, and just made friends.
I visited one summer during summer vacation and just fell in love with the valley. And even though there weren't students around, you could just sense there was something special about this place. And so college search happened, but really, honestly, this was the first pick all along the way.
Anderson University was really one of the only consistent, fixed points, really, geographically in my life. And I knew that every June I'd be coming back, and we had the same camp spot, for our trailer. Our homes were different, our churches were different, lived in different states, and yet that was consistent. And so for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer when it was time to come to college that I chose Anderson University, and that's how I ended up here.
Anderson University really has been a focal point of my life.
I've been here one way or another 52 years.
That's my AU story, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
There was just no other place that I wanted to be, and it has been a part of my life ever since.